Our next speaker this afternoon will be Speaker Margaret Joyner of Cog 48 Preston, who will speak to the topic Fools Rush In, with a warning bell at 8 minutes. Please welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you given any thought to your next holiday? Will you be staying at home, catching up on all of those things that you know you need to do? Are you going to travel around the great state of Victoria, as we have to come to Mildura, and see the sights that you've often driven past and wish you'd have stopped and taken in? Will you be going interstate? Will you be going overseas? Perhaps you've thought about going overseas and undertaking some voluntourism. Before you do, I would advise, fools rush in. What is voluntourism? One of those compound words that we're so fond of these days, like Brangelina. It's volunteering and tourism. Going overseas, having your holiday, and doing something for a community or a group while you're abroad. But before I go into voluntourism as a whole and where it sits and what people do while they're away, I want you to think for a moment about some of the areas in life that we deal with here in Australia. For those of you who have ever undertaken the daunting task of renovating a house or building a new one from scratch, you'll know that there's a lot that goes into it. You need to choose a builder. You need to know that he's qualified. You need to go to your local council. You need to get referrals from friends and family. Make sure that where you're putting your energies and your efforts, not to mention your dollars, is well founded. We want to know what we're getting for our money. We want to know that when we build this renovation, when we build this new home, at some stage in the future we're not going to hear a crash and for it all to come down on our heads overnight. Think about health, welfare, childcare. Think about putting your children into a creche, into a kindergarten, into a school. Who are those people that you're placing your little beloved and the future of your family into? Are they qualified? Do they know what they're doing? Do they have a teaching degree? A child welfare background? Do they have something as simple as a working with children check? Or who are the people looking after your animals when you go on holidays? When people volunteer overseas, for a lot of organisations, none of these questions get asked. The first question is, how will you be paying? Because it's a $2 billion a year industry. And for most of what people fork out for these experiences, they could easily be staying in 5-star luxury. People go overseas well-meaning to go and help in communities where they see the need. Lots of young people, 16, 18, 21-year-olds, are going overseas to build, literally build, schools, orphanages, houses for people that they deem to be in need. Well-meaning, but I very much doubt that if the same 18-year-old knocked on your door offering their services and saying, I don't have any building experience, but I'm prepared to give it a crack, you'd be just as happy to pass over all of your plans for your brand new home. Other people are going overseas to work in orphanages, again without any of the sorts of checks and balances that we have in place here in Australia. And not only that, they're going to work with some of the most damaged children out there. Children in AIDS orphanages, who have complex medical conditions, children who have been through wars and have emotional problems, and nobody is standing at the door asking them the most basic questions. Another burgeoning area of volunteerism is animal welfare, looking after orphaned orangutans, looking after orphaned elephants, and various other creatures taken into sanctuaries, especially across Southeast Asia. On the surface of all these projects, there's, is it really doing that much harm? People are going in out of their best intentions, giving it all that they've got, doing things that other people are not prepared to do. Building, cleaning, taking elephants down to the river and giving them a scrub. Surely it's not hurting anyone. There's evidence now that 90% of the children in Cambodian orphanages have at least one parent alive. They're not orphans. Their parents may not be able to care for them, their parents may not be able to support them, but their parents are most certainly alive. So why put them in an orphanage? It makes good economic sense. Western tourists come through by the busload and the children come out and sing and dance. They spend time with them, they make a donation, and then it's time for the next bus to arrive. People who are often building homes in areas are given the materials, set going, and one group was reported said how fantastic it is that when you go to build these buildings, everything is so well prepared for you. The holes are pre-drilled. Everything's marked and laid out. The truth being that in one area after the building was being built, it was being dismantled to be rebuilt tomorrow by the next busload of well-meaning, well-heeled tourists coming through. Well, on the surface of it, who's it hurting? It's hurting the people that you think you're actually going in to help. Because the economy of that area, whilst it might be going to a few clever, well-meaning individuals, it's missing out in the other area. Where's the work for the builders? Where's the work for the local people that would be getting the money doing this sort of work? Who's looking after the children who have got intense emotional and sometimes really complex physical needs? Again, in the area of animal welfare, it's been shown that there are elephants now who should well and truly be past retirement age that are being dragged back out for yet another group of tourists to be shown so that they can muck out after them, feed them, take them to the river, give them a bath. It's not all gloom and doom. There are some really well-regulated opportunities to volunteer overseas. One of those is run by an Australian woman who some of you may have seen in the past on shows like Sunday Night. Her name is Geraldine Cox, and she runs an organisation called the Sunrise Foundation. It's an orphanage where they require you to commit to 3 months volunteering, where you need to be checked, and where if you're coming in to do anything from teaching to building, you need to be able to demonstrate that you actually have those qualifications. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not all gloom and doom. But if you're not going to go with an organisation that shows the same respect and care for its local people as we would expect here, then it's just fools rushing in.